This is the brewery's Glenwort. Bottled May 15th of 2020, this is a 14.9% Scotch whiskey barrel aged ale. It says, a single pour transports you to the scenic shores of Islay, not to be confused with a Scotch style ale. Glenwort was instead inspired by and aims to hit the notes found in a peated Scotch whiskey, which is typically not my favorite of the whiskeys, but okay. This ale was aged in Scotch whiskey barrels and is full-bodied with smoky campfire notes and hints of vanilla and caramel. Well, Glenwort, let's see how you've held up over the past 5 years. Today I find myself in Wrigleyville, home of the Chicago Cubs in the cold of winter. Why, you ask? That's a good question. I'm hanging out at Nisei Lounge with the man behind the sticks. You may recognize his face or even know his name, but he and I go way back. Known as the Black Beer Baron, Jay Westbrook's doing some great things in craft beer, collaborating with Haymarket, Sketchbook, and more. He's brewed beers like Chicago Uncommon, Rum Barrel Aged Funkin' for Jamaica, and Harold's 83 Honey Ale. Jay and I met in 2016 when we worked together at Theater on the Lake. Today, he's a big up-and-comer in craft beer.
Drink it or dump it.
Hey everybody, I'm here at Nisei Lounge with my man Jay Westbrook, aka the Black Beer Baron. Thanks for being here.
Thanks for having me, Chef.
Of course. So I have a lot of questions, but the first thing to do is show you the beer I brought. So this is Glenwort by the Bruery. So it's been in my cellar for a couple, 2-3 years. I chose it for you for a couple reasons. Number one, it's a big ass beer. It's dark, it's rich, and it's strong. So that kind of made me think of you.
Well, yeah, except for the rich part.
Yeah, well, you're getting there.
we're
You're
working
getting
on
there.
it. Definitely working
Next,
on it.
this is finished in Scotch whiskey barrels, and I know our affinity for whiskey. So I'm thinking it's going to be good, but we're going to see if it's a drink it or dump it. But let's talk about you for a minute, because you got the Illinois Diversity in Brewing Scholarship, right? And you went to Siebel. Tell me about that.
So, through the Illinois Craft Beer Guild, I was one of 3 inaugural winners of the Illinois Diversity in Brewing Scholarship.
Okay.
So they basically kicked out, we won't name numbers, but a big check for me to study at Siebel, which is absolute love, and I'm forever grateful to Ray and Katie and that whole team over there for even thinking of me, you know, when this came about. Also, Caesar Marone of Sketchbook. We'll talk about Caesar a little bit later, probably, maybe.
Shout out.
But yeah, so I studied at Siebel and then came out and just felt like I belonged in this game. But studying at Siebel really gave me that validation that I belonged here.
Okay.
Not that everybody needs to study at Siebel to get into brewing beer. So
All right. What was your biggest takeaway from Siebel?
Siebel is just the structure, why we do the things that we do, why we go through all the processes that we go through, and why cleanliness is a number one. A number one. So that's my biggest thing.
Well, let's look at this real quick. This is 14.9%. Like, I think this is going to be plenty. Why they put it in a 750 milliliter bottle? Probably to share.
Yeah, exactly. Definitely a shareable beer.
Whoa.
Yeah. That's got something to it.
It's kind of smells like a Ardbeg Scotch or like a Lagavulin, something.
Oh,
from
yeah.
Islay. So that's holding up. It's definitely cloudy.
Oh, yeah. But time does that, right?
Yeah. Wow, the nose, for me, I'm not a huge Islay whiskey because it just overpowers your whole olfactory. It's definitely a drink it. What was the first beer that you can remember that you had a light bulb and you were like, this is different, this is amazing, I want to try more of these? Was there a single beer that did that for you?
Absolutely. I was at an event called Alpha Beer. It was that year, I think it was at AJ Hudson's. And I got Boulevard Tank 7.
Hold on now, describe what Alpha Beer is, because I think I know this event.
So Alpha Beer is an event that was held yearly, and you would literally drink a beer for every letter of the alphabet. But you're not drinking like these heavy pours. You're getting 3 to 5 ounce pours, so you're not just there getting blasted. Right?
Okay, so 26 times 3 to 4 ounces.
Mm-hmm. It's still a lot of beer. Still a lot of beer. Yeah. But Boulevard Tank 7 out of Kansas City just made me fall in love with the idea that I could do this too.
Bill, how do you describe Nisei Lounge to people who otherwise might say Wrigleyville?
Long story, the oldest baseball bar in Wrigleyville, been here since 1951, so there's a lot of history within these walls and these floors, these bathrooms, this patio. Short story, the surly confines of Wrigley Field.
All right, talk about the beers you've done and your mission to spotlight diversity in brewing, which is at this point in the industry, I think an amazing time to be.
Well, my flagship beer is a collaboration that me and my brother in brewing, Sam Ross, who works over at Goose, Harold's 83 Honey. It's an amber ale flavored with honey, 5.3%. We sourced honey from a West Side apiary called Sweet Beginnings, who markets their honey through the Be Love Buzz line. So if you've ever been to a Hudson in an airport, that honey is there in the form of body butter, lip balms, all of these things. And like we're coming up on the 5-year anniversary actually this year, and so
of the beer,
yeah.
Oh my goodness.
So we're gonna have a lot of fun activations, a lot of special variants out here in these streets, and we got some fun collabs coming up, some fun variants, a bunch of fun events. We'll also be donating as we do. We are a sponsor of the Harold Washington Legacy Scholarship Fund over at Roosevelt University.
Is that where that name Harold's comes from?
It's kind of in an understanding of how important the name Harold is to Chicago.
Right.
You got Harold's Chicken.
Yes.
You got Harold Washington.
Yes.
You got Harold Baines.
Harold Ramis.
Harold Ramis. See, that's what I'm saying. Like, that name means something to this city.
Yeah.
Also, shouts to my good friend Gator, who is also named Harold, but we ain't talking about him right now. But just how much that name meant to Chicago. And like Harold's 83 Honey was a celebration of Harold Washington because I was young when he passed. And I didn't understand why the city was so down about it because I was only like 6 years old. I didn't get it. And that made me crawl down a wormhole of all things Harold Washington. And I just became so fascinated with this man that I decided to make a beer about it. My first beer. It makes sense.
I'm so proud of you and so excited to see everything that you're doing. The Black Beer Baron, check him out.
You could also call me the Black Beer Baron.
I'm going to. Chicago.
And I learned that from you. Like how to do things the right way, how to be forthwith with your guests and actually be front facing and engage them in a manner that they're not really used to be engaged in. Forming those long lasting relationships to where you're memorable and people come back to see you for that is more important than any dollar you can put in my pocket.